But even talking about, even if they drive at night, because literally the next morning I saw pictures again of another tanker that fell in Ikorodu.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't know if anybody died. I think it just fell on the road, but it fell. And these things happen almost on a weekly basis, maybe because Lagos has a port. Maybe that's why it happens predominantly in Lagos.
Okay.
So how do we enforce? Maybe that's what I should be asking.
So we will need to go back to the fact that, all right, we've taken a measure. Tankers do not apply this route at this time, but still it doesn't seem to be adequate. Maybe what you need to look for is an alternative way of delivering or conveying goods, and that's why you have cargo trains, you have other forms of transportation that don't involve this type of, you know, dangerous movements between in inhabited or populated areas. I don't know. Again, this is not something you are going to fix in 1 week. It's something you need to go back and sit down and drop a proper blueprint and say you are going to stick to that blueprint.
Okay, well, we can just say, I hope their souls rest in peace. It's really hard for people to move on because, I mean, even when I drive, I try not to overtake tankers because, especially if it's on the bad road,
you horn, then
you make sure the road is free,
and pass by with a sign of the cross.
You move with as much speed as you can because it could happen to anybody. I mean, these people were sitting in their cars, you know.
So there's really no preventive measure there beyond why was this vehicle on the road at this time, really? And for that matter, why should vehicles like this be on mass transit roads at any time? Why can't either they be put on a separate road system or entirely scrapped and a different sort of transportation, cargo transportation system is established?
Oh, well, let's move on now to oil and gas. I did see an article about how power had improved since Mr. President got into office on the 29th of May this year, and something along the lines of the fact that there had been no gas pipeline vandalization since he got into office, maybe because of improved monitoring and all of that. Now we're hearing about drones being used by the NNPC or being proposed by the NNPC to monitor pipelines as well. Do you think that's going to work? I mean, we've had the last administration give these licenses to militant groups to monitor and all of that. We don't know if that was very successful, but do you think this is the route to follow?
Well, we have an issue here, and that's the fact that should the NNPC be the one making policy
to monitor pipelines?
Exactly, in that sense. It should really be an executive agency. In other words, you have been given an instruction, carry it out. It shouldn't be a lawmaking body or policy-making body. But again, because of the way the laws have been set up, and this is part of where the petroleum bill and all these things come in, it's free right now to do all of these things. Ordinarily, there should either be a clear presidential directive saying this is what you are going to do, which is part of the policy goals we need to see the president doing, or the legislative oversight committee saying, okay, we are looking at this and we are making these recommendations. So the NNPC doing this is fine, and we've seen a lot of these similar projects in Nigeria. But the question is this sustainable? Will there be funding for it? Will the next administration carry it on? Because these are not policy issues, they are just independent projects. And you know, in Nigeria, you create an independent project and after a while, it goes out, but nobody is questioned, nobody is monitored because nobody sent anybody on an errand in the first place.
I know Mr. President did say that that was the duty of the military or something along those lines, and he was going to put military personnel along those lines to monitor them.
Well, it's not really the duty of the military anyway. It should be the duty of the police, or maybe the civil defense force. But again, all of these things are so scattered right now. Anybody can be given any directive. It's still system issue. They are not independent issues in themselves. They're all tied into the type of system we are running. So the NNPC DG may just decide to do what he wants, or the presidency may just counter it the next day with another directive, and then 3 days later the legislature may say, no, this is, and everybody is running all over the place. Eventually nothing happens because nobody actually has any clear policy direction. Yeah.
One more thing that happened during the week, sorry. The spokesperson, I think, of the military did say that they were going to meet the 3-month target of Mr. President to get Boko Haram out of Nigeria. Do we believe him?
Well, why don't we want to believe them? We should believe them, but on the other hand, is it really a military issue alone? I mean, there are also intelligence issues to this. You could route the military insurgents from a military point of view. Boko Haram can be defeated. I mean, they could be sent out of the forest and all that. But what about the suicide bombers? What about the recruitment officers? You know, people like that who are going to diffuse into communities. You can't go into a village and wipe the entire village out because one Boko Haram member is suspected to be there, you know. So the military aspects of it could very well draw to a close by the end of September. It's very possible. But the intelligence aspect of it is going to be an ongoing war, and that is the problem. I'm not sure whether the presidency has... I want to believe they've considered it because it seems to be common sense. But again, considering the last administration, we didn't seem to consider it one way or the other until very, very late. One cannot just trust the presidency. So I want to believe that there are measures being put in place for the intelligence aspect of the operation, and that this would continue no matter what until anybody can walk anywhere in full confidence that there is security. Yeah.
Finally, now we have to talk sports. I mean, last week on the show here, we had a big talk about the Nigerian basketball team, the national team. They were going to play the finals on that day, and eventually they won. Exciting. For the first time in our history, we're African champions. I know you're not a sports analyst or anything, but I want to come from... I mean, I saw a lot of jokes on social media, people saying Buhari has brought good luck. Okay. He's the first person we're going to win this under him. That means we might win the World Cup under him. We need to keep him till the next World Cup and all of that. Do you think do you think him being there had a role to play with maybe releasing funds early and things along those lines?
Yeah. You know, things are, when it comes to sports in Nigeria, we just have these random strikes from time to time under Abacha, under Jonathan, and now under Buhari. I don't really think our sports setup is tied to our political structure that much. I think there is a very
because
serious
of funding,
disconnect.
it probably is.
Even when it comes to funding, from what I've even heard, the funding wasn't that great. At least the incentive I heard the players were giving wasn't that anything to write home about in the first place. I think those guys just went and did their best, and fine, the administration they are serving would carry the shine, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have any input into their win.
Well, congratulations to the Tigers, first-time African champions. Very exciting news. They qualified automatically for the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. Hopefully they go there and do us proud. Prouder than they did when they played in London at the Olympics in 2012. Thank you very much, Ayo Sogunro, for being here today. It's been nice talking to you.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll be having more talk about the first 100 days of President Buhari. Please stay with us.